Hello, Contractor Pros, and welcome to the Battle Plan Marketing Podcast, episode number 25. Today we have a special guest interview with Jason Pittock of ClickGuard. If you're running Google Ads, you'll definitely want to listen to this episode and learn how you can greatly reduce or eliminate fraudulent clicks and non-converting clicks from eating away at your daily and monthly budgets. So without further ado, let's give a big welcome to Jason Pittock of ClickGuard.
Welcome to the Battle Plan Marketing Podcast for Contractors. Get actionable advice and tactics on how to grow your home service company, plus interviews with industry experts dropping value bombs in marketing, sales, and operations. And now, let's power up your home service biz with your host, Mark Ambrose of Battle Plan Marketing.
All right, welcome to the show, Jason. We appreciate you spending your time with us and sharing your knowledge with our audience. So thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be on the show. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate it. You know, a lot of our clients in the home service business and others, of course, run a lot of Google Ads. So they may not be aware of your existence or companies like yours and what's happening behind the scenes. I think we all think competitors are clicking our links, but I don't think we know the depth of the problems that exist out there, actually, which I learned since becoming affiliated with ClickGuard and using you guys for my own clients. So tell us a little bit about what ClickGuard does and who you do it for.
Thanks, Mark. So I'm the CMO. I'm responsible for the marketing and customer acquisition here at ClickGuard. We have a product which specializes in detecting bad and unwanted and unconverting traffic. So more than just competitors, it's more about blocking the bad stuff and letting the good stuff through. We do this via post-click analysis. Post-click analysis is like a forensic insight into each and every click. And that then lets you determine if you want that person, is he really worth spending the CPC or the cost per click on putting that person on your site? Our customers are anyone from, marketing professionals, Google Ad freelancers to large enterprise customers and agencies. Our business is more focused on Google Ad specialists because they will have obviously the power to make those, or shouldn't say the power, but the experience to make those data-driven decisions that will help optimize their campaigns for better ROI. Our platform runs on automated rules, and then you can set your customized rules that just give you full control of your traffic and really who you want seeing your ads.
Yeah, that's amazing. And a mouthful there. So you guys do a lot. So it's an automated system. We connect to your company connects to our Google Ads account or the client's Google Ads account through an API, yes?
Correct.
And then you're measuring all that forensic data after the click.
That's right.
So before I encountered you guys, I always just thought competitors were the biggest problem out there clicking on ads. How much of, and we're not just looking for fraud. I guess I'm jumping ahead of myself a little bit, but it's not just fraud. The last of your list that you said you were looking for was non-converting clicks. So explain a little bit about like how much of ad clicks is competitive fraud and then how much is coming from other sources or even just legitimate clicks, but they're not converting.
Well, let me give you an example. The problem with bad traffic is a lot bigger than just competitors, bots, and proxy networks. So anyone out there who doesn't know, Google is in the business of making a lot of money. They are really a revenue machine. If anyone has the time to look at their financial reviews, year on year, they're packing those zeros onto their bottom line. And the reality is their biggest machine is Google Ads. Now, Google Ads over the years has become a very, very broad and wide network of a lot of different people looking for different ways of acquiring their customers. So not everybody acquires their customers the same way. It's not the same if you're selling sneakers or trainers or tracksuits to somebody who's actually selling, for example, a software or maybe some medicinal products. So let me give you an example. So if somebody is scrolling through their feed on their phone and they see an ad, right? And they click on that ad because they really want to buy, for example, let's say a protein shake, right? So they see some protein, they like the ad really speaks to them, they're into fitness, they click on the ad, they see the landing page, they go through the product, they like it. But, just at that time, somebody called, so they're like, okay, I'll get back to that later. Most likely, if that ad vendor is smart enough, he has a remarketing campaign running at the same time.
Right.
That person then sees the ad again, goes and clicks and converts. This is what we would call a legitimate visitor. To answer your first question, out of all of the traffic on the internet, the legitimacy is less than half. Now, the reality is that so many clicks are happening from so many different sources. It's becoming harder and harder for ad vendors like your customers, advertisers, Mark, and your team that are working on their behalf to start identifying what's good and what isn't.
Agreed.
So how we do that is we do that via forensic insight into the click. Unfortunately, you can't stop something you don't know and you're not aware of. So it all starts with prevention. But before prevention, you've got to have received an IP address, a click. And then based on the behavior, you're going to identify if you want that person to see your ad again.
Right.
So the reality is, when you've set up your rules inside the platform, inside the product, inside your dashboard, you can then identify if you want that person to click again on your remarketing ad or you don't. That's just one example of a legitimate user. Now, let me give an example of non-legitimate user.
Okay.
You're selling, for example, a law firm software in New York City, right? Let's say your industry is New York or New Jersey, because it's only, might say the legislation only allows you to sell it within that state, which we have customers that have these situations that just sell, for example, software in California or just in Texas. So their target audience is in New Jersey and New York.
Right.
And their cost per click is $60 because it's a software and it has a very high ticket value and there's a lot of competition and people are competing on this every single day, every single hour, every single day of the week.
Which is very similar to our plumbers, electricians, roofers.
Correct.
They want a local area, cost per click is very high.
Right. So when that person, let's say they don't have a battle plan on their side to help them with their ad setup, but let's just say they go and hire a marketer to work internally and say, hey, run the ads. Let's spend $10,000 a month and see if we get some leads, or even $1,000 a month.
Right.
So they go and spin up the ad campaign. They create some good ad copy. They create a good landing page and they go and run the ads. Unfortunately, people searching for something related to New York, outside of New York and even outside of the United States could be shown the ad.
Right.
And that person could click on the ad, which is still going to cost you your $50, $60, but it could literally be a student who is maybe interested in an engineering degree in New York, sees the ad, clicks on it, still a legitimate user, not a bot, not a competitor.
Right.
Goes and clicks on the ad just out of pure interest or by mistake, and you've just served an ad to somebody in Morocco.
Right.
Your industry is New York.
Right.
And you served it to a student, and your decision maker is actually a law firm VP. So why does this happen? Well, this happens because, as I said at the beginning, Google, unfortunately, has taken away a lot of control to the advertiser.
Yes, indeed.
And they also serve you a very good set of vanity metrics, such as impressions, clicks, CPA, all of these really exciting, I call them vanity metrics because they can go down the path of vanity.
Right.
But the reality is you've got to focus on where your ideal customer is and zero in on that vertical. You can't afford even to spend one click on anybody who is outside your target audience.
Right.
And this is where ClickGuard comes in, because we can exclude, I'd say externally of Google Ads, we can block certain areas seeing your ads. So if you, for example, had a click from Bangladesh, Morocco, Australia, and your audience is in New York, or for example, in Fresno, or in LA, or in San Francisco, and you only want to show ads in that given region, you need to block everything and anything outside of that region. That's an example. Then the third group is the fraudulent group. Now, the fraudulent group is very complex to be able to quantify because it varies. So the third group of these unconverting and traffic that you're not interested in serving your ads to does come from clickbots, and it could even be competitors having some malicious intent. Now, the reality is people make a lot of claims around this group. And there's also a lot of marketing in the ad tech space around this group of problematic traffic sources. But the reality is it's still very unquantifiable and does exist. Google does work to eliminate it because it's not in its interest.
I see.
Although obviously they get a cut of the click.
They get a cut, but too many people complain and they're out of there.
Yeah, exactly. But bots do exist. I was giving a very simple example before, but for example, if somebody creates a landing page, a website, I should say there, and sends a whole load of programmatic traffic. For anyone who doesn't know what programmatic means, it just means paid traffic that isn't via the 4 or 5 main PPC platforms. So you can literally just buy sessions that just go into your website. They get AdSense approval. They go and run some display ads. They will then contract a company to click on those ads. That means the revenue goes back into their pocket, and obviously Google gets their cut.
Wow.
Now, the reality is this doesn't happen, I shouldn't say irregularly. It does happen on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. But I would always try and tell people, don't just focus on, you might say, what screams scary to you, like bots and crawlers. And that's really a slim part of the issue. The issue is a lot wider. And as I said before, it's more about targeting the right audience and removing all of the waste, which includes bots, which includes competitors, which includes proxy networks, which includes crawlers.
Right.
For example, when you have a service like SEMrush or Ahrefs or any of these services, they contract crawlers, and a crawler will click on an ad.
Really?
Of course. A crawler will click on an ad. It's designed to have literal human behavior, and it will click on an ad. And that could be your ad. So they do exist. Are they the main cause of the problem? No. The main cause of the problem is the lack of awareness by the advertiser, the person who is buying the clicks, should we say, your legitimate Google Ads user.
Right.
Not having awareness about the complications of Google's approach to not giving you the data, you might say, behind every single click.
Right. Behind those impressions, behind those clicks.
Everything. Absolutely everything. Yeah.
I was enlightened. I think we came on board with ClickGuard third quarter of last year, and it was there that I discovered bot traffic and click farms and proxy clicks. And that was happening to our clients' account. And other clicks that were just, we didn't know where they were coming from, but they were bouncing out very quickly. So we started setting up new rules. Well, you already had some default rules to get rid of VPNs and bots and proxies. So that was already there, and that helped work it. So they might hit your click once, but then that IP gets blacklisted, and which API connects it over to Google Ads. So they can still click, but it's not charging the account. And then on the conversion side, so let's talk about that. So just real life humans who are clicking on your ads, going to your landing page, maybe even spending time on the landing page, but then not converting. So I saw some of that happening in our accounts, and we set up some rules to try to avoid that.
Interesting. Great.
Right. So time on page rules. So let's talk about some of the kinds of rules that ClickGuard can enable to help save money and avoid these wasteful clicks.
Well, great. That's a really good question. And I'm really pleased that you brought up the most important part of the conversation, which is conversions. So you know what? I'll share another story because I don't like talking about theory. I prefer to talk about real life examples. We had a customer the other day. His name's Todd. He came on board with us via recommendation, and he is running very expensive ads for a university based in Carolina. Now, this university is paying north of $30 to $40 every click. And the course, or I should say the MBAs or the postgraduate, whatever the service, their packages they're selling,
right,
they were getting legitimate bots filling out the conversion form. So you can imagine now how complicated this has become. This isn't just blocking bot clicks. This is actually now blocking bot conversions.
Wow.
Or I should say fake conversions. There was the same email address with one number changed. For example, let's say Mark 1991 ABC at Gmail, and then it'd be Mark 1992 ABC at Gmail.
Wow.
And these conversions were like, the average conversion value is like maybe $400 CPA. So the customer acquisition cost is half of $1,000 nearly, and they're getting like maybe 5 or 10 conversions a day out of the 50 that were fake. So they're spending an extra $500 or even more a day on something that was never going to be a future MBA student.
Wow.
So how do we identify this? Well, ClickGuard has something that's really interesting, which is parallel conversion tracking. Parallel conversion tracking means you install ClickGuard's conversion tracking on your site.
Right.
And that allows us to identify real conversions. We call it offline, like parallel with Google. We're now recognizing conversions on your page, as so is Google. With that, we exported all of the IP addresses that had converted. He gave us all of the conversions that he'd seen on his CRM that actually came in with the IP address and the email address. And we started to match up behavior signals. Behavior signals, or I should say just behavior patterns, are based on these forensic insights you can see. Now, let's talk a little bit about them. Time on site. How many times they click before they convert?
Right.
What do they do? Where do they come from before they convert? So where have they come from? They come from a specific browser? Have they come from a desktop, mobile, iPad? What country, what region, of course. So all of these factors we start to attribute. Another thing we noticed is that these people were always seeing the ad once and then converting after. So that meant they saw the ad once and then converted it maybe 1 or 2 seconds later. Obviously, it's a bot, like it was some crawl or something. We don't know.
Too fast.
Could be anything.
Right.
Way too fast for a human.
Right.
You can't even fill out the form in 2 seconds or
Right.
let the page load.
Right.
So they've obviously, we would probably call this like clickjacking. They'd actually probably loaded the page, simultaneously and then clicked on the ad twice and then obviously loaded it in the second time. So what did we go and do? We immediately reduced the impression to one a day. So one person can only see one ad per day. We stopped showing ads to people that spent anything less than 15 seconds on the site.
Right.
And in the period of a week, Todd, our customer, saved $400 or $500 per day on these fake conversions.
Per day. Nice.
And I think he reduced them completely or to like one every other day or one a week.
Nice.
And the reality is there was two things we did. We allowed him to block his ad from being seen more than once a day. And we also blocked people that didn't spend more than 15 seconds on the site. So for anybody out there who is serving ads, time on site is so important for user behavior. Just think about your own process. When you buy something for your girlfriend or your boyfriend or a friend and you're sending them something, how long do you spend on the site? You probably spend 15 minutes.
Right.
And if you're buying something for yourself and you have everything pre-checked out, you might spend 5 minutes, but you're not going to spend less than 3 minutes. So really a true conversion is going to come when somebody has the intent to convert. So we call this intent optimization. And we actually have an article on this. And it's all about understanding the behavior pattern and then optimizing your campaigns for that. And as you do that, the collateral, I should say the benefit, is going to be eliminating this unconverting traffic. And if you have had a click from somebody who's not going to convert, at least you're never going to show them ads again.
Right. It's one time and one time only. You learn something new every day, as they say, Jason. So I did not know that I could set a rule to only show the ad once per person.
Correct.
So that's nice. I'm going to have to find that and get that executed on my accounts there. So yes, we look for high bounce rates. We look for time on site. So I think we have rules, same thing, like 15 or 20 seconds. If they bounce out, then we block that IP. So again, they get the one click maybe, because we too have very high cost per clicks in plumbing, solar, electrical, roofing. They can go all the way up to $200 a click, actually.
Wow.
Very common for them to be in that $30 to $70, $80 range. So really important to stop as many of those as possible. I did not know that the bots will fill out forms actually and fake a conversion. Do we know why they do that?
I don't think we will ever know why, because I don't see any benefit whatsoever. I mean, it's a big university. I'm guessing that anything big like a laboratory, university, a bank, an airline, they're going to be targeted by hackers. This could be a way for them to determine something inside their forms.
Just messing with their data.
Yeah. No, I don't really think it's clearly not a legitimate human being. It has to be a system, some algorithm. But whatever the case, he wouldn't have ever known. I mean, he would have never known the information behind those conversions if it wasn't for
without a doubt.
Exactly. A, the parallel conversion tracking, and B, conversion tracking equals IP address equals timestamp and all the other forensics.
Right.
And with that, we gave him the information. I mean, he had the information on the dashboard to be able to go and execute and save his customers maybe $2,500, $3,000 a week.
A week. Yes. Gigantic savings. So we too noticed that. So we took over some existing Google accounts on some of our clients. And we were able to reduce within, I'd say, 45 days. Took us a little while to do the forensics and start making rules. But even with the basic rules that you guys helped us set up in the beginning, I'm going to say off the top of my head, there was 15 to 20% savings on a monthly basis. For people who are spending 5 figures a month, that's good money.
It's very good money.
And that money can be used much better elsewhere instead of on fraud.
Or reinvested on real good customers, legitimate customers.
On real good customers. Like you said, it's not even all bots and farms and stuff. It's even legitimate people who click on the site and then maybe they come off kind of quickly, or they're on the site 2 or 3 times, but they're not converting. So I'm going to have to get that rule about one impression per day. I like that a lot.
Sorry, if you search, I think it's under impression cap. So that's impression.
Okay.
That's your frequency. You can cap it at minimum times per day.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I have one of your support staff actually touching base with me next week to review one of the accounts. So I'll bring it up with that person and we'll get that in.
Awesome.
And speaking of that, let's talk about that, because this might be a lot of foreign language to the average plumber and electrician and roofer out there. And they're like, what the heck are you guys talking about? And mostly these agencies probably working with you in large enterprise companies with in-house ad people. But there are still a lot of guys out there and gals running their own, or they have somebody in their office who does 22 jobs and they think they can run the Google ads themselves. So hopefully they're being woken up to the fact that probably a rather large portion of their ad spend every month is going to robots and farms and just non-converting traffic. I guess that's the essential end of result of it all.
Yes.
And they need to stop that and reduce their budget and put that money into converting clients, right?
That's right.
So are there any types of ads that these bots and farms and even competitors target more than others, like text ads, display ads, video ads?
Yeah, 100%. So immediately display is going to be more notorious for bad traffic, and there's reasons why. The first reason is it's easier for people to literally click on an ad by mistake. So I've got my phone here, right?
Right.
So I'm on my feed and I'm scrolling up and boom, I click on an ad, accidental, boom, went to some page. That's not why I'm interested, X out.
Total. Everybody's done that.
Everyone's done that. So immediately display is always going to be very, very notorious for people just accidentally clicking on an ad. And when you've got some display ads around $1, you've got maybe 500 people doing that a month. That's $500 you've just lost to somebody who's never going to convert.
Right.
So that's the first reason. The second reason is it's very easy for somebody to be a fraudster on using the display. And I could give an example of that. So we had another customer who was running ads in the United States for a very specific state and region within the state. And he was running 5 figures per month of display campaigns and getting conversions, but having these spikes. And these spikes happen often when you're on automated bidding rules. Google takes the liberty to spend your budget. So you say, hey, Google, I'm happy to spend up to $400 on a conversion. Well, they'll run their ads for you.
They will indeed.
They will indeed. So he was having conversions, legitimate conversions, but he was also, his CPA was going up and up and up. It wasn't going down and down and down, which is the goal, right? You want to spend less on a customer so you can acquire more. And we looked into his data. He was getting 25% of his clicks were from India.
Wow.
And he was running ads to a specific state, a specific location within the state, and a radius of like 100 miles or 80 miles. There is absolutely no legal reason people from India should be clicking on his ads.
Right. Let me pause you for a sec there, Jason.
Yes.
So this is important. So in Google Ads, that client has excluded.
Correct. India.
Well, first he's targeted certain areas, zip code cities, and he's also excluded areas, yet he's still getting clicks from outside the area, in this case, outside the country in India.
And the reality is that we have customers in India. It's not India's fault.
Right.
It's not United States' fault.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And the reality is that it just wasn't his audience. Like, he's not interested in clicks from India because his product, he can't serve his product for them.
Right.
So the reality is this is a real simple example, but because Google won't serve them the data unless you use something like ClickGuard or any IP detection service, you're never going to know true geographical clicks. Like they don't show it to you. How can such a behemoth of a company not be serving that data? I mean, the dashboard should say, hey, I spent 10 grand of your budget to get 10 conversions at your CPA of $1,000, on my automated bidding. And at the same time, actually, 25% of the budget was spent on India. Like, you'd be like, what? So the reality is they don't serve you this information. Again, it's not in their interest.
Right.
And the reality is this poor customer who's now, I think, is a bit happier, but he literally was concerned about it. He reached out to the account manager and the account manager wouldn't answer and wouldn't respond. And they couldn't respond for it.
At Google.
Yeah, they wouldn't respond for it.
Yeah, they're probably told not to.
Yeah, he has an account set up. Account structure is targeting, as you said, given zip code, a given city, a given location, and a couple of maybe 60, 80-mile radius, and that was it. He can't sell his product to anybody outside of that. And here he is, probably spending $2,500, $3,000 extra on people from India, and that happens on display. The reason it happens on display is because the website could be hosted in a different location. They could change servers. It could mess up the way Google reads the traffic.
I see.
They could get a surge of a traffic from a certain location, and that changes some moving part within Google's algorithm, and immediately just for a split second, they serve a bunch of ads in India and people click on it, or things, legitimate or non-legitimate clicks happen, and straight away they've dug into your budget. So the reality is, because of the way it operates using third party, which is obviously somebody else's website, you have this vulnerability.
Right.
So I always say to people, if you're going to be using display, make sure your geo-targeting is very tight and check for IP addresses from your non-audience, from audience you're never going to sell to. For example, India, Morocco, anywhere that's not your location. If you're in California, just show it's California. Second, be very careful with automated bidding. This is when you can, if you've got a lot of budget and you're running CPA, that's absolutely fine. I would personally stay safer. I would run the ads, collect some good data, make sure it's structured and healthy before you go into something like that, because you're ultimately running the risk of telling Google, hey, I'm happy if the conversions cost me $1,000, and they will serve you ads. They could serve you ads outside of your location just to hit those numbers. Because again, it's not in their interest. If they've already hit the number, let's just say they've already converted you 5 customers within California, they haven't reached your CPA limit, they'll show the ad somewhere else. So that's why I think display is notorious, and you do need a professional looking after you in those cases.
You definitely do. We've certainly noticed that display gets attacked way more, and those are the reasons why. How about like a VPN? Well, so does Google even know for sure the IP address, like where everybody, because we even noticed that actually in regular text ads, is that sometimes the click comes from outside our territory, even outside the state. And we try to wrap our head around why that's happening and set up rules, but we can't seem to exclude it all. It's very down to an extreme minimum right now. So it's happening less, but it still does happen. So is it virtual networks or just Google serving up?
It can be a lot of things. Unfortunately, it isn't just one thing. If it was, I think it'd be a lot easier to block and to avoid.
Right.
The biggest one is proxy networks is definitely the biggest. VPNs, you can have deep web browsers as well, like Silk.
Can be anywhere.
Yes. And they can be crawlers. As I said, I think we did a research the other day. I think there's now nearly 100 companies in the world that all they do is crawl for other companies.
Wow.
And when I mean crawl, they're literally humans that have human behavior, to check certain services or certain KPIs on certain performance metrics.
I see.
You can literally get a job now, like for these companies, for X amount of money per hour, and all your job is literally to engage with ads and see how they perform and report that back.
Wow.
And that feeds their algorithm. The reality is these crawler services are happening, and that's why it's really important, and it's becoming more difficult to identify real human behavior with converting behavior.
Are those crawlers like enterprise companies looking to gather mass data?
It can be enterprise. It also can be Google themselves. I know Google has a division, which is literally people engaging with search positions, engaging with ads to see performance and test.
Wow. It makes sense because you're getting a quality rating score, right? Based on not only your ad and the copy, but also the landing page.
Exactly. How do you really think there's an algorithm that tests all that? No, of course not. What happens is there's humans behind the algorithm. And just before you move on, I would like to say this. Behind every AI, there's warehouses of data. And that data was put there by somebody.
Right.
That data is not there by magic. And I also try to tell people that AI is great. Machine learning is great. It's only as good as the data is served. And if that data is served, it has to be served by a human.
Right.
And so therefore, it all starts with the human input. So somewhere, somebody has crawled that ad and that landing page and done that for a process, because if not, there'd be no way of them identifying and be able to build their algorithm correct.
Absolutely. There's no way for them to rate your landing page unless they go hit it, right?
Exactly.
And wise advertisers have a walled off landing page, right? So not taking them to by the way, most contractors out there are sending ads to their homepage. So we'll talk about that in another upcoming episode, but stop doing that to the audience I'm speaking out there. So you need to have an ad go to, at the very least, that same service page, but ideally a landing page, custom landing page, no menu, no footer, nowhere else for them to go other than converting your call to action. So that's amazing. I didn't think of that, but now that you brought that up, of course, Google has to be hitting your landing pages because they're rating, and they have to be doing it kind of regularly, actually, because the quality rating score is always changing. And so they're always probably on a regular basis hitting your ad, hitting your landing page, and going through a scoring system of some kind.
That's right.
Incredible. So not only do advertisers need to get a hold of a product and engage with ClickGuard or somebody like you, and you guys were the first out of the gate, I believe. Is that not true? Or
That's a very good question. The reality is that there will always be other alternatives. We have a very data-driven approach. We really put the control back into the hands of the advertiser or the agency. We fight blood, sweat, and tears for the advertising. We're not a plug-and-play product. We really try and help tailor the product to their needs. That's why we talk a lot about intent optimization, because one size fits all does not work, because your industry is different to another industry. So we do have a basic set of rules, as we talked about, but then we have real full customization to create your own suite, create your own platform that is going to deal with the type of attacks that your industry, your business, your avatar are going to have. So that's why I always say, when people say, ClickGuard isn't easy, anything that's really going to serve the purpose isn't going to be easy, because your attacks are complex. Google itself is becoming complex to be able to approach these problems. So again, we were one of the first out the gate. We pride ourselves in being data-driven, and being very transparent. And we have a team of talent, a good set of talent, and young, energetic, forward-thinking, dynamic. And we're super proud to have you as a customer, Mark, and many others out. And it's a family. We're really a family out on a mission.
Thank you. I appreciate that. No, we're super lucky to have found you, I think, because our clients would be spending a lot more and not knowing. Like you say, Google is not serving up this information. It's impressions and click-through rate and conversions. And if you set up conversions even, a lot of clients didn't even have conversions set up properly.
Right.
So that's a whole nother topic altogether. So yes, and is ClickGuard or forensic investigation a little complicated? Yeah, of course it is. So like you say, the attacks are complicated. Understanding the behavior on the pages takes a little investigation. So yeah, it's not for the weak at heart.
No.
And it's set up really for professionals. It's not really for mom and pop businesses to use, although they can. I don't see any reason why they couldn't engage with you guys, get your help out of the gate, which you did with us, and then follow up later with some additional help to review some of the forensics that's going on the account. So anybody can get there, but yeah, you got to want to. And if you're spending 5 figures a month or more, or whatever you're spending per month, some of that is going to waste. If that was another part of your company, you would be doing everything possible to eliminate that waste. And this is usually a large part of the marketing budget for every company that's running ads. So it behooves them to investigate either with an agency or on their own and have a company like ClickGuard, a tool like ClickGuard, to reduce their ad spend, get rid of the waste, and increase conversions. We're grateful for ClickGuard. So thank you.
Thank you.
And as we said, we can just block people who just don't even convert. They come to the site 3 times, but they didn't convert, even with time spent on the site. So I like that. So how about yourself, Jason? Where did you come out of? What attracted you to ClickGuard? How did you get involved?
It's a long story, but make a long story short, I've spent a couple of years working in a family type / corporate business. We were more in the interior construction for commercial interiors and business economics. That was my thing. Did it in Cambridge. When I left, might say the corporate, I really went typical, wanted to be digital nomad. I had enough of going into a city and rushing from one appointment to the next. And, the whole time being very dependent on, time, on a real tight schedule. 2019, I decided to make a change, and a lot of things changed in my life along with my approach to my income. I went and started consulting for the content marketing, SEO, and Google Ads, which is what I always liked and been sort of hustling as a side hustle while I was working. When I met Ralph and Milos, which are the founder and the co-founder, we just started talking and we just hit off. It just happened. And it was just a really amazing experience. And, coming on board, becoming a part of the team. And we're really a big family and we've really grown it a lot in the last year and a half. And we've just now really starting to put our foot on the gas. And it is really exciting. We have a young team and just really good people, and it's really driven by our values and our passion and our desire to share our brand and who we are.
Well, you had an association already with SEO and Google Ads, but then it sounds like Miloch, and I listened to a podcast of you and him speaking on post-click analysis last night, actually, a little preparation. So it was the people, Miloch and the other founders who... Ralph. And you met them personally, back in the UK or?
No.
So we haven't spoke that you're in Argentina right now.
I'm in Argentina.
And I'm in California, the beauty of technology, right?
It is. No, we've never met because the moment we started working together, the idea was to travel 3 months after we started, 90 days. And the reality is COVID hit and everything changed. So
that was end of that.
Yes.
You made a wise decision, though, right before COVID hit, to get involved with the right kind of company.
Yeah, to be honest, with everything that's going on, I haven't really got any desire to travel at the moment with everything that's happening. We're just waiting until things settle, and I'd like to get my vaccine, and hopefully we can travel again, and hopefully we can meet up as well, Mark.
Yeah, same here. I'd like to come down to Argentina, actually. So I'm looking forward to being a little bit of a nomad myself pretty soon. Exactly. I'm getting a little gray hair. It's time to roam the world a little bit. I can do my job from anywhere just as you can. So it's a beautiful new world. Actually, I wish I was 20 years old. I'm a little envious of the new generation who get to take advantage of all this stuff. It's beautiful. That smartphone and high-speed internet, it took both of them, right? And it just changed the world.
It did.
And in a lot of ways, people can do almost anything they enjoy doing now for a living. Mm-hmm. Which back in my day, no way. You were told, don't do art, don't do music, don't write, all these things that there weren't solid careers ahead. But now you can make there's a kid on YouTube opening toys and making $12 million a year or something. So you can make a living doing anything today. It's a wonderful new world.
I'm very passionate about what we're doing. And again, appreciative of you inviting me, Mark. By the way, I actually have a hard stop in a minute or two. I don't know if there was much more.
No, we're all good.
We're good.
Well, if people want to reach out and find you, Jason, where would they go to?
If you search my name, I think I've done enough SEO to come up in Google.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram mainly. But just, Jason at ClickGuard.com is my main channel.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate it. Thanks for being on the show, sharing your knowledge and skills. Our clientele definitely needs it. So very appreciated.
Thank you, Mark.
All right. Have a great day, sir. We'll put an affiliate link in the show notes and description below for those of you who want to look more into ClickGuard, or you can just go direct at clickguard.com and check them out. Highly recommend employing such a system if you are running Google Ads. It'd be criminal almost without running some kind of click forensics on your ad platform. Thanks to our audience for sharing your time and attention with us today. If you liked what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast so you get notified of our future episodes. And of course, feel free to share this episode on your social media channels. Good luck out there and create a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Battle Plan Marketing Podcast. To power up your home service business, for show notes, visit battleplanmarketing.com/podcast. If you enjoyed our show, please share it on social. Until next time.